If I could trouble you to drop a like, subscribe and leave a comment, as you all know, Russia has been tearing through Ukraine with gay abandon for the last 11 months, burning, blowing up and knocking down the country as it moved around it. There has been a level of malice involved in the sheer level of destruction wrought, like the purposeful targeting of civilians and non-military targets. The pictures and videos shared around the world have been so consistent and so similar in their massive levels of destruction, that seemingly no one notices it anymore. We have become desensitized to the country of Ukraine being broken up one brick at a time. This destruction has come at a price that even a financially strong country would find it difficult to manage without regular international support. But to make things worse, did you know that even before the war, Ukraine was the poorest country in Europe? Let's take a look at what this mass destruction has cost this beautiful country. Since its independence from the Soviet Union on the 24th of August, 1991, this has been a country that has struggled financially. It would see its first year of economic growth only in 2000. This would improve dramatically from 2001 to 2007 as exports increased by 50% and real growth would average 7.4%. Then the 2008 economic crisis absolutely smashed the country. By 2009 the GDP had fallen by 15%. In 2011, Ukrainian politicians estimated that 40% of the economy came from the black market. In 2013, trade with Russia fell dramatically due to the stricter Russian customs controls, and as a result Ukraine fell into recession and its credit rating would be downgraded to Caa1, which is a poor quality, high-risk rating, making borrowing extremely expensive. Then in 2014, with the loss of Crimea and the war in the Donbass, the economy would shrink by 6.8%, followed by 11.6% in 2015 and a tiny increase in 2016. There would be a steady increase in GDP from 2017 through to 2019 from between 2.4 and 3.2%. Unfortunately, in 2020 the recession would return with a drop-off in GDP of 4%. This was largely because of a cessation in trading with Russia. In 2021 things would improve, by 3.1%. Obviously, the Ukrainian people have been suffering tremendously under the onslaught of the Russian invasion, something that wasn't deserved or called for. Apart from the tragic cost in terms of dead and wounded, there is the financial cost. This will continue to affect generations of Ukrainians to come, and based on the figures we have seen, the damage has been done. Putin could pack up his armies right now and return to Russia knowing that he has set this little nation back decades. You see, even if the world was in a strong economic position and not in the dire situation it currently finds itself, with its economy reduced by $2.8 trillion since December 2021, it would be a monumental task to get Ukraine back into the black. Let's get into it. How 2022 has progressed. An analysis of the economic costs of this war conducted jointly by the Ukraine government, the World Bank and the European Commission estimated that the direct damage was just under $100 billion. Damage to housing accounted for $39 billion, to the transport infrastructure $30 billion, to commerce and industry $10 billion, and to energy $3 billion. 2 months of relentless missile and drone attacks by Russia have decimated Ukraine's critical infrastructure, worsened the already poor predictions for the country's war-ravaged economy. Originally, Kyiv expected to need at least $55 billion in foreign assistance in 2023 and 2024, which was more than the country's entire annual pre-war spending. Now, with its energy systems severely battered, and more Russian attacks likely, some officials believe Ukraine could end up needing another $2 billion a month. In addition to the direct damage, there are indirect losses stemming from lost agricultural production, land contamination and dispersal of the population. The cost of rebuilding and decontamination reached $350 billion by the end of year, with the most urgent needs costing an additional $105 billion. This excludes aggregate losses, which are estimated at $250 billion. If you add that all up, you are hovering around the $700 billion mark. a substantial amount for such a small economic country. There has been significant Western budgetary support for Ukraine, in addition to the flow of military equipment. The European Union, along with the United States and other countries, including Britain and Canada, have already jointly committed €140 billion in weapons, loans, and humanitarian aid to the Kyiv government. The aid still leaves a massive budgetary gap. Ukraine's tax revenue has fallen by 27%, yet its spending, including on the military, has risen by 40%. The government has been issuing war bonds to help finance its military, but it has also sought direct funding from the Ukraine National Bank. By the end of June, central bank support of the government had reached $7.7 billion. Direct funding is contributing to inflation of 30%, which makes it harder to sell the bonds. At least a third of the existing loans and grants pledged by the rest of the world go to plug a roughly $4 billion monthly shortfall in the Ukrainian government budget. Despite some horrific predictions of up to a 50% decrease in GDP, Ukraine's economy ministry on January 5 reported that the country's economy in fact contracted by just 30.4% in 2022. That is a remarkable achievement, although still the largest drop in GDP since independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. The economy ministry also announced that Ukraine exported goods worth $44.1 billion in 2022, of which 63% went to the European Union. Poland was the country's largest single trading partner. This is a massive shift from the early days when Russia was the main trading partner. The less-than-expected fall in GDP is a tribute to the country's resilience. Despite the departure of millions of refugees, domestic consumption, often of goods necessary for the war effort or survival, has been strong. Shops and supermarkets have remained well stocked, however in areas unaffected by fighting, there have been few shortages. Bars and restaurants which closed in the first weeks of the war quickly reopened. Importantly, exports of IT products and services which have historically been a major foreign currency earner have held steady, in many cases seeing an increase on 2021. Ukraine called Russia's bluff. To keep alive a deal that allows the seaborne export of grain has meanwhile helped the Ukrainian agricultural sector to stay afloat and lessened the threat of a global food crisis. But obviously large tracts of their fertile land have been pockmarked and turned into a useless landscape of death and destruction. This will cost a lot to rehabilitate it for farming, for a country that puts agriculture as one of its largest exports. Their banks have also remained solvent. There is financing and payments support for the economy, which remains fully operational. Obviously, these points do not include everything. What about the future costs, long-term health support, the cost of having an enemy state on its border and the costs required to deal with a large part of your country being hostile to its central government, not to mention demining and getting rid of the war clutter? Let's not forget all the displaced Ukrainians, getting them back and rehoming them. It is currently estimated that 18 million people in Ukraine require humanitarian support, with more than 6 million having left the country entirely. The Western world will no doubt be quick to rally around the Ukrainians, but I believe that when the war ends, there will be a less of an appetite to support the plight of these amazing people. In conclusion, the situation is dire. The whole world is going to have to come together to rebuild this proud nation and restore it to its pre-war condition. I think that Russia should be forced to pay either through reparations or confiscation. Make no mistake, there is the very real possibility that when the fighting dies down, Ukraine could find itself being forgotten about very quickly. Just take a look around YouTube, where supporting Ukraine is fast becoming an unpopular policy.